Now, previous video, you know that we spoke about the 30% that the US President Donald Trump has imposed to South Africa. South Africa has gotten 30% of tariffs additional or over and above the 10% that President Donald Trump imposed on all the countries that are doing business with America back in April of this year, right? I mean, that 30% is not a very good thing. And it appears that obviously since President Ramaphosa, now that is coming from Brazil, attending the BRICS summit, President Donald Trump has made even further comments to say that he's going to, or he's threatening to impose even an additional 10% to all the countries that are members of BRICS, right? And yeah, let's wait, let's see what happens. But anyways, this video today, I want to tell you, or I want to share with you the response that came from our President Ramaphosa after the 30% tariff increase coming from the White House into South Africa. I mean, this is what our president said. He said, number one, South Africa sells more to the US than it buys, right? Meaning that the country that is benefiting the most is the US, right? But South Africa is not buying a lot of stuff from the US simply because, of course, we are still a developing country. Some of the stuff, we still don't need them as yet, which that is the first statement that is he noted. And he said, the reciprocal tariff is not accurate or an accurate picture of the available data when it comes to trade relations. So he's saying this 30% is not accurate based on the data, based on the information that is there between the two countries. He continued saying, on average, imported goods entering South Africa, it's 7.6%, with 77% of the goods entering South Africa under the 0% duty. Like 77 of what we are getting from South Africa, it's coming under the AGOA deal, right? So US is not paying a dime of the 77% that is coming or that is penetrating our country, the goods that are coming from the US. Think USA, honestly, when you read this, it's just so unfair, man. I mean, if whatever we are buying from the US, 77% of that, it's duty free. They are not paying any tariffs. It does not make sense how President Trump really came with this 30% or how he got to this 30%. I mean, if 77% of the US goods entering South Africa are having zero tariffs, why are we getting the 30%? Why is South Africa getting 30% of the goods that we ship onto the US? Yes, part of what we are exporting into the US, right? We are exporting them under AGOA. We are also not paying duties, but there are other stuff, a lot of stuff that we are taking into the US, like steel and the others, that we are paying a lot of duties. And this 30% is going to hurt those kind of businesses, is going to hurt those kind of sectors, which is something that is not good. Now, he continues saying, South Africa and the United States have been in negotiations on matters of trade, and South Africa is still waiting on a template from the US in regard to framework deal that South Africa submitted to the US on the 20th of May. Now, this is something that obviously you can see that South Africa wrote to the US in relation to trade, right? But US, it appears that they've not responded to South Africa as yet. But in fact, they just decided to hit South Africa with a 30% of tariffs, which is not good, man. I feel like President Trump really undermines our country, not just our country, many countries, which, of course, I don't know if it's coming with the fact that the US is the strongest economy in the world, which is true, man. But I don't think this is how the US should be treating other countries. Especially, I mean, I was not aware that 77% of all the goods from the US entering South Africa, they are not paying a single dime in terms of tariffs, which getting this 30%, I still don't understand why it's like that, right? I mean, part of that letter, you will know that President Trump said that for South Africa to evade this kind of tax, they need to go to the US and build the companies that are exporting, the steel companies that are exporting stuff to the US. They need to build those factories in the US, and they will make sure that they don't pay nothing as long as the factories are in the US. So this is the response from our president, but honestly, it makes me just wonder why we got the 30% from the first place, because why would you charge us 30% when we are charging the US on the products, or on the 23% of the other products they are bringing to South Africa 7.6%? This is not fair, this is not good, and it shows you that, look, whatever the US is doing, it honestly, it's so unfair. But anyways, let's wait, let's see what transpires next. I think there will still be engagements between South Africa and the US, but yeah, man, I just think that the US is using these tariffs to try to cover their debts and all that, because US has got a serious problem with the debt issue. I mean, their debt has even surpassed the amount of money or their GDP on the country annually. And this is a huge problem, which is part of the reason that President Trump has been fighting with Elon Musk to say that some of the policies that they are implementing will further take US into more debt, which is something that is not good, right? So US is trying to bully everyone else, I think, in my opinion, by the way, to try to cover their tracks, to try to service their debts, because debt is increasing, and as debt increases, the repayments become more, and for them to sort out that issue, they need to obviously find ways to make more money, which these tariff hikes are some of the things that they use to make more money. But something that I discussed also, it's bad on their side, because all that they are doing, it's going to only make matters worse in terms of their economy in the US, because inflation is going to spike again. I know President Trump said this is not true, inflation won't spike, but what really happens when there's not enough supply of products in a country? The existing supply will have to increase the prices of the products that are on demand to try to cover, or to try to obviously meet the demand that comes, right? This is what usually happens, and you know that when that takes place, it's when inflation also kicks in. But anyways, let's wait, let's see. I just thought I'd give you this quick update. Tell me what you think about this. I'll see you on the next one, my dear friends. That is all from me, and God bless you all.